Hey guys, today we're going to just do a quick presentation on geolocation. This actually requires you to compile to a phone due to the fact that if you don't have a web server, JavaScript won't be able to get your geolocation based on your IP address because it's running locally, and the PhoneGap, or I'm sorry, Android emulator also has a similar issue, but if you compile to a phone or if you have a web server, your geolocation will work. That's why this is just optional, because some people are making geolocation based applications. So I'm just going to show you the syntax, and you compile to a phone. If you have any problems, just email me. So the first thing you're going to do is just open up a new notepad, and I'm just going to go ahead and save it as an HTML document. I'm going to save it as geolocation.html. Okay, and now we have our HTML document. Let's put in our doc type, and if you remember from previous lectures, this just declares that it's a HTML5 document, and we are going to put in our basic tags, which is our HTML, our head, our body, and close the body, and HTML. So in a basic HTML document, again, we have 1, 2, and 3 basic tags that you will have every single time when you make an HTML page. At the very least, you will always have a head, the body, and the HTML that wraps all of them together. Okay, so what we're going to do is, because just like our database, this runs before the body loads, so we're going to put our script tags in the head of our document, because we want it to run before anything else loads. Because, for instance, say I'm running a script to a web server that's getting me restaurants that are around me based on my geolocation. I want to send my geolocation to the server before the list gets sent back. So we need geolocation. Also, we're going to save it in our local storage because we're going to send data to our server a few times throughout an app, and we need to be able to send it again, so we're going to store it in local storage. Okay, alright, so the first thing we're going to do is declare our function geolocation, and we're going to close our function. And again, function names are kind of irrelevant, and they're just for your own syntactical sake, and so you always try to name your function something that you're going to remember and that kind of makes sense to what you're doing. Like I wouldn't call this function close document, or function, hide everything, because it's getting my geolocation, it's not hiding the entire document. So make sure your functions make sense to you at the very least. And we're gonna, today we're gonna start doing some documentation, because documentation is very important, and I didn't want to do that right away because I want to get everyone familiarized with HTML and structure before we start doing documentation. What documentation does is allows you to look at your code a week or 2 weeks later, or someone else will look at your code 2 weeks later and say, hey, alright, I know what they've done because they told me what they did in the documentation. If there's no documentation and I try to look at your completed app and I'm sitting there saying, why the hell did they do this? It might actually make sense, it's just I don't know what you're doing sometimes. And you should always have some sort of explanation. It also helps when you're working in the team and other people are going to be playing with the document. They know what you've done and why. Okay, so this is how you create a comment. We're going to say function location is going to see if the user has geolocation available, and the way we close it is 2 minus signs and the close caret, and you'll see that your comments are going to be in green in Notepad++, and when we go to the next line it will no longer be green, so we know that we've opened and closed our comments correctly. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we are going to declare some variables. We're going to say var options, and these are from PhoneGap. So PhoneGap passes these along to the native geolocation on the phone, and all we have to tell it is to enable high accuracy. Sorry, I forgot how to spell for a second. And we have to say true, and then we close our options, and it could be array. It could be an array of options. There could be more than one, but that's the only one we're really concerned about. And then we're going to declare another variable. We're going to say watch ID equals navigator, which is the navigator, which is our geolocation dot geolocation dot watch position, and it's going to call 3 functions. So this watch ID says, hey, navigator.geolocation. We're gonna run 3 functions. We're gonna say we want our on success, which is if so this is the function navigator.geolocation.watch position. This says give me my geolocation. Now it's gonna run 3. It's gonna depending on the answer back from the phone, it's gonna run a couple of things. It's gonna say, hey, we did get our geolocation, so it's going to run the onSuccess function, or it's going to say no, we didn't, and it's going to run our onError function, and it's going to pass the options. And so we're going to say I want my geolocation. Was it a success? Was it an error? And this is always going to pass because we're just throwing the options in to the function, so that's kind of irrelevant. It's just going to say hey, was it an error or a success? And we're going to put our success functions down here. We're going to say, and first we're going to put in our onSuccess functions. So let's put in a comment saying, hey, this function runs if we get geolocation back. And let's close our comment, and I'm going to put it over here, and we're going to say function on success, just like over here. So this will be if we do get our geolocation back, and then it's going to pass our position back. So this is the parameter to get our position. So it's going to pass us a position object, which is like a JSON object, like the data object as I showed you, and then we delimit it. So say like from the JSON homework we had data.name, data.address, so it's just taking a part of that object and giving me the string. So it's going to, in this case it's going to say position latitude, position longitude, and those are the 2 parts of that one position object. And it sends me an object instead of strings, because then I would say, for example, for my app I would have to send 10 strings instead of saying sending 1 JSON object, and then I could extract it later, which is much easier. Okay, so now we have our onSuccess and position object, and let's close our function before we forget. And let's put in our methods, and we're going to say, alright, so this is assuming that we do get our geolocation back. We're going to do a couple things. First, we're going to say variables. We're going to set variables for our latitude and longitude. We're going to say var lat equals, and our latitude object, position dot coords, which is coordinates, position dot coordinates dot latitude, and var long. Actually, put LNG. Long is a JavaScript number. If anyone's ever taken math, it's a number object, so we don't want to use anything JavaScript reserves, such as we don't want to name our variables true, false, null, int, string, long, double, float, anything of that nature, any math related term. We want to kind of stay away from math naming conventions, and long is obviously a word as well in the English dictionary, but it also means a math term, and you can actually tell that it is a math term here because it's blue now in Notepad++, and that means that the editor is picking it up as a JavaScript reserved word. So let's get rid of it, and then we're going to say position dot coords dot longitude. Okay, so now we have our variables, and we can do a couple things with our variables. The first thing I want to do is I want to local storage dot set item. Set item latitude, and we're going to say lat. Local storage dot set item longitude LNG long. Okay, so now we could obviously call this with our local storage.get method. I'm also going to show you today how to remove items from local storage, because I did forget to do that in the last lecture, so now's as good a time as any. Okay, so now it saves to local storage. I also we're going to just alert it. So we're going to say alert, and then our string goes in quotes, and then we say plus whatever variable because it's an object and not a string, and the plus sign delimits strings from our variables, and we're going to say long, and then we're going to put a space because actually that's how you get space between our strings. So let's put another there, and long equals plus LNG, and it'll alert. But obviously it's not going to work here. Okay, so it will work on your phone though, and if you do have geolocation enabled, it'll be okay. And this is also going to just like any other app, it's going to say this application wants to use geolocation, and if you accept it, it will accept. If you say no, then our error function will happen, or if you have it set off anyway by default, our error function will also occur, or you don't have service. There's a couple of different scenarios of why you would get an error function. You have no service, your battery's running too low because geolocation takes or drains battery, I should say, very fast. So if you don't have enough battery power and you're running an application, it'll fail more locally than not. So if we have an error, so now we're going to say function error, and then it's going to pass the error. What this is the geolocation API is just going to give us an error message, whatever the error, what happened. So if you don't have service, it'll say error because there was no service, error because the user denied it. So let's see what happens. So let's put in our alert, and then we're going to put code and plus error.code, which is the actual code and not the message. And then we're going to actually, you know what, we're just going to say error.message, and that's all we want, is we want to know the message that we are getting. So let's just change this to message. We don't care about the code. It's not very important. And let's save. And let's put in our comment saying this function runs if there is an error with our geolocation. And we close our documentation. Also, another good way to say you're making a script and you're not sure if one part of, let's say, of your method, these are methods, these are this is what's happening in your functions. If something's messing your whole entire function up, instead of deleting everything, you could simply do 2 forward slashes, and this will comment out the whole line, and then you could debug easier this way and see if, you know, just this one particular part was the problem. Instead of having to delete the whole thing, you can just comment it out and JavaScript will just run right over it and ignore it. Okay, so let's run our geolocation, and nothing happens. Let me inspect element, and hold on 1 second. Okay, and I'm sorry, I forgot one thing. So now that it's in a function and in the head, it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to run on its own. So this is kind of awesome the way there's a couple ways to do it, but this is how I do it. You just simply, underneath the function, if you want this to run on body on load without jQuery, you just call the function like this, and then you run your page. Oh, I spelled it wrong. Geolocation. There we go. And we run it, and it says message, and this is our error message: user denied geolocation. Why did I get this message? Because I'm sorry, because we're running on a desktop and has no access to the web, is running locally, and so therefore JavaScript can't get our IP address or our public IP address to say where the hell we are. Okay, so just for the sake of, I want to show you how to remove stuff from local storage. I'm going to comment this out, and we're going to run it again and see JavaScript ignores our function. We're going to say local storage dot set item, and we're going to say message and error dot message. Okay, and it will hopefully save our error message. Now let's check. We go to resources, and where is it? And there we go. And this is just the stuff from other websites. Okay, so it says message user denied geolocation, and so that's fine. Now what we're going to do is we're going to be able to remove this from local storage, and it's a simple script. So we're going to say function remove, and we're going to say local, and this is very simple syntax. I just want to show you, remove item, and all we need is the key. We don't need this plus this, we just need the key. This is the key and this is the value. It gets saved in key value pairs, like I said, because we don't know what error message is going to be, but it'll save it there, and we can show the user, you know, whatever it might be, to them back when they call it. So saying that they want to maybe log out, and you want to log out of your app, You want to get rid of the user's name, user's user ID, user's location, etc., etc. So we're going to say in this case it's local storage.remove item message, and it will get rid of our message item in local storage, and we're going to create a button. And please don't write like this. I'm only doing this because I don't want to have to link jQuery just for a little page. So we're going to say input type button, and value equals remove local storage, and you could attach on-click handlers to buttons directly. That is very bad practice, but we're going to do it right here just so it's quick. Okay, so we're going to save, and let's refresh, and let's see our message item, and we're going to press what the heck happened? Something weird happened, and my button left. And hold on one second. I might have called a JavaScript default. Hold on, give me a second. Yes, don't use the function name remove. I actually didn't even know that. It's a JavaScript default, and we'll just remove the button from the HTML page. So just change it to remove item, and again over here on click remove item. Okay, and I'm going to refresh the page, and as you can see it's here, and I'm going to press remove local storage, which removes the item message, and I'm going to click file again, and it's gone. And when I refresh again, it will be there because it's getting it on the onload function. That's not the way you're supposed to use it. It's just showing that you will get it removed by using local storage.remove item. Okay, so that's how we use geolocation. And we're going to send our geolocation to the server in our when we finish up our application. Thank you.